I'm Conor McReynolds, and welcome to The Dinner Party. In each episode of this podcast, I interview a fantastic guest to learn all about their dream dinner party. I'll be finding out who they would invite, where they would host their party, and what they would cook for their esteemed guests. This week, I'm speaking to the brilliant Sooz Kempner. Sooz is a comedian, a singer, a writer, a podcaster, an actor, and she's one of the hosts of the fantastic Mystery on the Rocks podcast. She's multi-talented and a super interesting person, and I'm really looking forward to chatting to her about the people that she finds most interesting and finding out a little more about how they've influenced her. So here she is. This is the dream dinner party of Sooz Kempner. So, hello, Sooz. Thanks so much for joining me on the dinner party.
Thanks for having me. I'm hungry.
Yeah, choosing lunchtime was a dangerous time to record this.
No, it's perfect.
Oh, good. I'm
Perfect timing.
gonna whet your appetite. You're just gonna have the most incredible lunch afterwards, I assume.
That's it. Yeah, I can't wait.
Suze, how? I mean, it seems crazy not to ask you sort of how your lockdown's been, but I worry that it's a question that's sort of like when you're working in an office and it's, oh, how was your Christmas? And everyone kind of just has to answer the same thing. But how has your lockdown been?
Oh, it's been variable. So when it first hit, whatever it was, 7 years ago, it's four months now, isn't it? When it was first at the end of March, I went, okay. There's two ways to treat this. I can panic that I've got no work, or I can try and turn it into an opportunity, which really helped till about mid-June, actually.
Oh
So
yeah,
for 2.5
that's a
months, I
pretty
was
good
like,
run.
it wasn't bad. Yeah, I was kind of like, I'm recording loads. I'm making loads of videos. I've been doing loads of writing. And then it got to mid-June and then things started to open up and gigs started to happen again. And I was like, I'm still poxy nobody. I could have sat on my ass for 4 months. So
I know what you mean. It must be so weird for you, particularly kind of at this point in the year where under normal circumstances, I assume you would be in a car or on a train on your way to Edinburgh right about now.
yeah, literally today, I should imagine. Yeah, Monday, because the festival would start on Wednesday. So
Yeah,
yeah, I would be heading up today. I only just thought of that when you said it. I was like, of course.
yeah.
So yeah, I'd have got in my car at 5 a.m. with all my stuff and then driven off. And where would I be now? 2 o'clock. I'd probably be about an hour and a half from Edinburgh at this point, and about an hour. So if we were going up, it would be about an hour ago. I'd have realised, I forgot my fucking raincoat. Happens every year.
But it's fine, it's Scotland, you don't need a raincoat.
Yeah, you go, "Oh, I'll just put the hood up on my hoodie and I'll just get wet. It won't be like the rain's beating down on me." And yeah, just spend the whole month with trench foot.
So how I mean, obviously, this kind of all landed on us around March time. So I'm
Yes.
assuming you were planning a show for this summer because 'Cause you've been there, like,
Yeah.
every year for, like, 6 or 7 years, is that right?
Yeah, 2013, I went up with a play and did a couple of work in progress hours.
Mhm.
Just not a run of them, but just a couple of what turned out to be my first hour in 2014. So yeah, I've been every year 2013 to 2019. And this is the first year I haven't been up. It's weird.
Is there any part of you that kinda thinks it's a sort of a welcome break or
A little bit. I because you have to find the positives. I've found a lot of people have catastrophized a lot under lockdown, and I get it, but I haven't wanted to.
yeah.
So I've turned the Edinburgh thing into, okay, I get to be at home for August, and I'm not missing out on anything because it's not happening. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
What were you thinking for Edinburgh this year? Is it an idea that you think you can take and reuse next year, or is it something quite timely that because I've heard a few comedians that have had to throw everything out the window, which seems really tragic.
Oh right. Yeah, I suppose if you're doing super topical stuff, then yeah. But I mean, I was going to take up a show called PlayStation because for the last
Oh
2018 I did a
yeah,
show
yeah.
called Supersonic 90s Kid about playing Sonic. And then last year I did Mega Drive about playing on the Mega Drive. And my last console I owned was a PlayStation. So I was
Awesome.
going to take show up called PlayStation and complete the trilogy.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, so
But
you get to do that next year. That's fun.
yeah, should be able to, but I'm going to do it anyway online at the end of August.
Oh, fantastic.
So 31st of August, I'll be putting out my some version of
Oh,
PlayStation.
brilliant. Well, you're gonna have to give us, like, the link of the details, and we'll put it in the episode description for people to
Cheers,
find.
will do.
That'd be awesome.
Cheers.
I mean, Suze, you've got such a really cool and varied skill set. Like, looking at your website, it sort of seems like there's no creative endeavor that you haven't kind of mastered so far. I mean, you're a
Oh.
comedian, a singer, writer, podcaster, actor. I'm sure there are lots of other things in there.
Well, if you're averagely good at lots of things, it looks good on paper. Just master absolutely nothing, but have various different things you can kind of do. It's like, yeah, I got Photoshop skills, I guess.
I'm just putting together my own website at the minute, and like I think the
Hmm.
only skills that I haven't added to it is just candle maker. So I'll just add that later on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But see, out of all those really cool things that you do, is there one particular kind of hat that kind of fits most comfortably for you? Do you think of yourself primarily as one thing over another?
That's a weird one, isn't it? I would always say I am a writer performer, and I put those things together.
Yeah.
I guess the thing that the thing that I can always rely on being able to do, and that the most reliable thing that people would go, "Oh, that's good," is singing. Like if as long as I can sing a song they like, people are genuinely like, "I like that song, and she sang it." So that's probably like top of the list, but
Yeah. Do you get the thing when you tell people you're a singer? Because you know how when you say
Mm.
you're a comedian, the really annoying response is, "Oh, go on then, tell us a joke."
Tell us a joke. And you're like, well, I kind of do long form stuff. Have you got 15 minutes? But I'll need a build up to it. So you kind of need half an hour.
I feel so awkward trying to explain to people, "Oh, I'm a comedian, but I don't
Yeah.
really tell jokes." And they're like, "Well, what do you
Yeah.
mean?" Um
Yeah. They go, oh, you're one of those comedians. It's like, yeah, I am actually.
But do you get that with being a singer? Like, nobody says, "Oh, go on then, sing us a song."
Ah, not really, actually. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, people wouldn't go sing a song. They'd go, oh, what kind of stuff have you done? And if I tell them, like, oh, well, I was in a musical at this place and I've done, they'll just go, oh, you must be quite good. They just assume I could be a liar. I could hire a venue and say, oh yeah, I've played at this theatre. It cost like 2 grand to hire it.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
say, yeah, I played there, and it's not a lie, and they'd just be like, oh, she must be good. But that's this whole industry, isn't it? It's just like fake the lot.
I think you're sounding very humble here. I mean, having seen clips and heard you singing, you've got such an amazing voice.
Oh, thank you. It's the thing that's cost me the most to get to be able
Oh,
to
yeah?
sing.
Were you
Went to the Royal Academy of Music, it wasn't cheap.
were you a singer as a kid? Like, have you always been singing?
Yes, I so when you're at school, I'm sure you were the same. I think it's actually a really good thing to get kids to do, but we'd all have to sing as a group,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
lot. Um, and I always found it really fun, but I didn't know I was any good. Like no one had told me I was any good. And there was the Christmas show at Burstow Primary School when I was 7 was coming up, and they said, "Does anyone want to sing the solo at the beginning of the show? You have to dress as an angel and you sing the solo at the beginning of the show." And I thought I couldn't give a shit. They probably thought it. I didn't think it in those words. I don't care. And they went, anyone who, and I thought, no. And I lined up for assembly because I just didn't care. And they went, anyone who wants to sing for us to sing the solo at the beginning of the show, stay behind, don't go to assembly. And that's the only reason I literally left the line for assembly and was like, well, something different. And we all had to sit on the floor, about 10 of us, and get up one by one. And it's not that I remember it as some great triumph, but I do remember sitting there and feeling like I don't give a shit, and seeing kid after kid from my class get up and just completely dry. Like, I was like, oh, they really care. It was singing it was singing of the first verse of Once in Royal David
Oh,
City, and
wow.
just seeing kids get up there and go, I can't, and sit down. And I was like, how weird, they can't do it. And I got up and just did it. And the teachers, I remember them going, oh, wow. And I think that's weird because I definitely wasn't any good. I was just like, for a 7-year-old, good, probably.
Yeah, cut yourself
Like
some
they're
slack.
but I remember their reaction and thinking, "Oh, I can sing." But their reaction was definitely too much. Like they reacted like I sounded like Celine Dion, and I definitely didn't. It was probably just like once in royal day. Like I've definitely improved. But yeah, suddenly. But it was like age 7. Suddenly, it was you can sing. So now that's something that I've always had. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can sing. Yeah.
From the signs of things, I mean, because you and your brother are also, your brother's also a comedian and
Mm,
performer. So I'm
yeah.
imagining your household, your parents were treated to a lot of performances when you guys were growing up.
Ah, I think you're playing fast and loose with the word treated. Yeah, yeah, we put on plays. We put on a play once that was entirely scored by a CD in our house that was the best of Ennio Morricone. It
Oh,
went on for
wow.
ages. But yeah.
That's a
And we had
heavy
like,
soundtrack for 2
yeah, man.
children.
We would change the soundtrack. We had like a written on paper, like which of us would be teching that particular point in the play.
Amazing.
Changed, right, and now it's track 13. Play now. Yeah.
That's extraordinary, wow.
I suppose you heard about our Olivier.
Do you remember what these shows were about?
Oh, they were about all kinds of crazy crap. Like the Morricone one, the Morricone scored opus was pretty dark. I remember like guns being
Oh, wow.
involved. We shot each other in the head a lot in a lot of these shows, using the Master System light phaser gun. 'Cause it was badass. It was black plastic and it looked like the real thing.
That's incredible. I mean, it just goes to show how different our childhoods are, because in Northern Ireland around that time, kids weren't really encouraged to play with guns.
It's my bloody British privilege talking, isn't it? British Master System gun privilege. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, there was absolutely no issue. I can remember kids bringing in plastic guns to school.
Yeah, yeah. I
It was not
I just
not
think
an
it's
issue.
such a weird thing for
It
I mean,
is.
not to
Yeah, it shouldn't
criticize your
be.
parents, this is not like a bit of
Nah.
gotcha journalism where I'm like, "Ha ha, Sooz Kempner's parents, they're awful." But,
They were awful parents.
do you think you and your brother would ever consider, recreating that show for an Edinburgh Fringe?
Um, I don't want to say too much, but
Sure. Keep an
2021, look
eye,
out.
that's all.
Look out for the good, the bad, and the Kempners. A fistful of Kempners. It's anyway, we're just workshopping. We're
Just
spitballing.
keeping it loose, having a bit of a play.
Yeah.
Listen, it sounds like lots of your previous shows have brought together so many of the things that you are passionate about. You mentioned games, also movies, and you're
Mm.
singing and acting in plays and stuff. How much of a challenge was it for you to kind of narrow down those passions and bring them together in a way that really works for your shows?
Oh, yeah. It took a long time because when I first went to Edinburgh, I'd been doing comedy about 5 years,
Mhm.
and I knew it because it's your first show, so it's kind of the easiest show because you've got no expectations. I certainly did. I did. It wasn't like I was on any lists of like watch out for.
Mm, mhm.
So there were no expectations on me at all. I was in a free venue, and you have all this material that you've been doing already. So I went, well, I can do whatever I like, and I want to sing songs from Wicked, and I want to talk about my parents' divorce and link the two things together. So I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. Like I'd not done this before, but I went, I want a projector so that I can show on stage, like I can flash up lines from the email that I read out from my dad in the show.
Mhm.
If you didn't see it, don't worry, I'm fine. And so I knew I wanted that, but I had no idea that what I was doing was putting together singing, writing, a bit of theatrics,
Yeah.
multimedia. I didn't know I was doing that, and it took. So that show went well, and then the following year I did a character show where I played 4 different characters,
Mhm.
again with multimedia stuff on the screen. And I did 2 character shows, and then I went, well, I want to be myself again on stage. And it was the 2017 show that I did, which was my 4th. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 5th show. It was my 5th show.
Wow.
I went, and it was called Sooz on Film. And suddenly I went, oh, I should do this. I don't need a keyboard in front of me, because I used to sing my own songs with a keyboard,
Yeah.
and I didn't. I only did that because it was like, oh well, that's a thing. I can sing my own songs. I didn't really enjoy it, so I just stopped doing it, and it's
Oh, okay.
been much nicer ever since, not having a keyboard in front of me.
But still
I don't think I'm
singing,
explaining
yeah?
it very well. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So now I still, I guess, am a musical comedian, but I don't sing anything funny. It's just like in my last show, I sang all the songs that we would sing in school assembly, and
Nice.
gave them a twist. Well, you know, as like little kids all sing songs in the style of like a John Lewis advert. They're quite
Oh,
creepy and
yeah,
stare straight ahead of them. And
yeah.
so it's like it's still musical comedy, but it's not, and it's still making use of like, and now a song, but it's not going, and now a comedy song. I wonder what it would be if Jack Nicholson was in Bambi. I never did that.
But again, you've got it in your back pocket if you need
Yeah, 2021. Don't tell the feds.
it. And so it's one of the things that you do, a son I really enjoy is your podcast, Mystery on the Rocks.
Oh, thank you.
For the uninitiated, tell us about Mystery on the Rocks.
Mystery on the Rocks is the best part of my week. It's me, my good friends and comedians, Chris Stokes and Masood Milas, who are the internet's 2 goodest boys. Masood is like a cocktails expert. Chris is obsessed with mysteries, and I am an idiot. And together we make cocktails and drink them and solve mysteries.
And what's your success rate with actually kinda coming up with good ideas and solving them, do you think?
Oh, I have no idea. I can never solve a mystery or anything. I'm always just, and I'm constantly losing track of the story.
Yeah.
Mostly because I've been riffing about something that happened to me in 1993. But
I'm like you, I'm obsessed with mysteries. I love a good
hmm
murder mystery, like, grew up watching things like Murder, She Wrote obsessively, and I am
hmm.
so dreadful at solving them. Like, even though some of these things are just so formulaic, I just go
Yeah,
along for the ride, and I get to the end, I'm like, "No way."
yeah, yeah. I feel stupid watching them because I go, oh right, and like yeah, I've never gone, oh, I think I know what's going on here. Oh, well, the only time it's happened, and it doesn't really count, but there's a film called Tully. Have you seen it?
No.
it's it's Charlize Theron, and I can't remember the
Oh, yeah,
name
is
of
this the
the.
one where she's like an au pair or something?
Yeah, Charlize Theron is like this really run down, quite new mum. Well, she's got 2 kids who are sort of running around under 10 and a new baby,
Right.
and she's reached the end of her rope, so they get in a night nanny who just comes in and looks after the baby overnight. And as the story goes on, you're like, wow, this is weird, that nanny's kind of taking over. Oh, that's odd. And I suddenly, with no spoilers, I suddenly went, oh, I think I know what the ending's going to be, and I was right. Oh, it was
Oh,
so
that is very
exciting.
impressive. That's very cool. My wife is so infuriating. Like, she is the exact opposite to me. I think because maybe she studied like English lit, so she's always kind of coming from that analytical perspective. But literally, like 90 seconds in to Shutter Island, she was just like, "Oh, I bet this is
She
gonna
figured
be the
it
case,"
out.
and I was like, "Oh, screw you!" Because then I'm watching the rest of
Oh,
it thinking, "She's probably right, this is it," and of course she was
yeah.
right, and it was so
That's
annoying.
amazing.
But
She
yeah,
figured out the twist. Oh, twist movies. I'm gonna. Do you know what? You know Sixth Sense.
yes,
I went to see it at the cinema. It came out '99, didn't it? So I was 14.
yeah,
Went to see it at the cinema with all my friends, and like, oh, I'm gonna spoil it because if you haven't seen it by now, what's your
I
problem?
think that's
But yeah,
safe, yeah.
Bruce Willis is a ghost at the end. And when it was revealed he was a ghost, and that he'd been dead the whole film. And we walked out of the cinema, and they were like, oh my God, did you figure it out? Did you figure out? All my friends and I was like, figure out what? I still hadn't clicked. He was a ghost.
What an
I
anticlimax
just,
that film must have
I,
been for
I
you.
just went, oh, he's still traumatized by getting shot at the beginning. Oh,
That's
I see.
brilliant.
It's stupid though, because why didn't Haley Joel Osment know he was a
Oh, I
ghost?
know, it's so ridiculous, and how did Bruce Willis not realize 2 hours into everyone ignoring him, it's like, "Is there something up? Like, click if you
No,
can hear me."
that's like M. Night Shyamalan, isn't it? Going, my workaround is the ghosts don't want us to know that. The ghosts don't want to believe that they're ghosts. So what? Oh, what are you? Oh,
Oh, what horse
look,
shit,
it's
M.
a,
Night.
it's a, probably is a great movie and well done, but I did walk out of that cinema. Look at me blaming the movie. The movie's stupid, not me. I was like, he was a ghost.
That's so funny. Oh, man, Suze, I would love to keep this up all day, but 20 minutes into an episode called The Dinner Party,
We must talk about
I
dinner
should probably
party.
talk to you about your dream dinner party. Before we get into
Yes.
any of the specifics about who or where or what you're eating or anything, just generally, tell me what
Mm.
kind of vibe you would like to strike with your dinner party. Do you want it to kind of be a
Ma-
sophisticated thing or a bit boozier and lairier? What are you going
Yeah,
for?
that one.
Yeah.
Boozy Larry. Yeah. That's dinner party. I want a lot of conversation and I want people to get drunk. Not too drunk.
Yes.
Not what Chris Stokes of Mystery on the Rocks would describe as Sue's drunk. But I do want people to be quite drunk. I want a lot and I want a lot of lively conversation while drunk.
Yes. Fantastic. The more red wine that people imbibe, usually the more passionate and, yeah,
That's it.
intense the
Yes.
conversation becomes. I like that. That's definitely the vibe I
Yes.
would like. So when it comes,
But no fighting.
yes, no fighting. I think you're relatively well set up with your guests to avoid
I think so.
fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to where you would host your party, Suze,
Mm.
what do you think? Where anywhere in the world you can gather together people that really inspire you and interest you, where do you
Yeah.
want this to be?
Uh, I was gonna say my house, so I didn't have to drive there. Didn't have to do any driving, but I live like a mile from the station, and I often have to pick people up if they're coming around my
Oh
house. It's one of
yeah.
the beauties of lockdown is I haven't had to pick anyone up from the station for ages. But I think where I'll have it is my mum's friend Abby's house. It's a really nice house. It's just a really nice
Oh,
house.
wonderful.
But
What makes it so nice?
it's a 15th century, I think 15th century, uh, beautiful house with a lovely
Oh
conservatory,
yeah.
which it's just the most beautiful house that I know, and it's got lovely grounds. And my mum has to house sit there. She doesn't have to, like, but she does. She house sits there when Abby goes away, and we get to stay in the house, and I get to pretend that I live there. So I have the dinner party there. Abby can come too to the party, but she's not on the list because she's not a celebrity.
Yes, yeah, she can sit in the kitchen while you guys are all
That's it. Her and mom can go off and discuss being weird left wing dressage people.
Brilliant. Okay, so we know you're at Abby's house,
We're at Abby's house, yeah.
and your first guest is a fantastic choice. Why are you inviting Groucho Marx?
Oh, Groucho Marx was just one of the great raconteurs, apparently. I read his biography, which is just called Groucho, and it's by Stefan Kampfer.
Okay.
And it's a really great, it's one of the best biographies I've ever read. It's so interesting. Groucho Marx seemed to be quite a neurotic and um he seemed like he worried all the time, but he always wanted to make the world a bit better, and I like that about him.
Yeah.
Um, and he, yeah, and he seemed like genuinely hilarious in real life as well, and really smart.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be a good guest. I've also seen him on that show from the 50s and 60s called What's My Line? He was often a panelist on that, where they'd have just a member of the public, and you as a panel had to guess what line of work they were in. And
Oh,
I've seen 3 or 4 episodes he was on, and he in no way takes over the show, but
yeah.
he's always the funniest, and often he was on a panel with a woman, imagine that, and he'd always find the woman extremely funny and be very generous as a panelist, and, I think a lot of panel shows today could learn from
Those are
that.
very good qualities in a panelist. We
Yeah,
like that.
I was extremely impressed when I saw episodes of What's My
And it
Line.
sounds hugely progressive, like you say, kind of 50s,
Yeah.
60s to have that kind of
Mhm.
that's very cool. I'm not
Yeah.
overly familiar with Groucho's works. I mean, I've seen like
Mhm.
a few clips, like obviously the
Ah,
famous
okay, yeah.
mirror scene
Yes.
from Duck
Yeah.
Soup, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, it's
just like
super.
one of the best kind of comedy scenes that I've ever seen. It's just an
It's amazing.
amazing idea.
I
Um,
mean, Duck Soup holds up 100%. It's the best satire on war that exists, on satire on war than politics that exists, and it's nearly 90 years old. We never learn.
yeah. Oh, I know. It's so grim. But when did you
Yeah.
first become aware and a fan of Groucho Marx?
When I was 7, we had, uh, some of the videos in the house. So my dad worked as a Groucho lookalike at corporate
No
events.
way!
Yeah, for real. So we had these films in the house, and he was out being a Groucho lookalike. So I've been a fan of Groucho Marx for nearly 30 years.
That's amazing. And what a cultured 7-year-old you are. Like, that's very cool. My mum was in a musical comedy version of Macbeth when I was
Mhm.
4. And so I used to go to school as a 4 and 5-year-old in my sister's tartan skirt, because I wanted to be Macbeth, and I was saying to everybody, "Oh, you must read it, it's wonderful."
It's Macbeth. It's got everything.
And I always thought
Betrayal,
I
honor.
was the only kid who had a weird thing that they liked like that, but no, as a 7-year-old, you like Groucho Marx.
I really like the idea as well that it's like the Marx Brothers, because they're really old and impenetrable looking from the outside. I don't care about a 90-year-old comedy, people might think, but they're so accessible and stupid. I mean, you can see they were the Will Ferrell movies of their day. They're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they were the Anchorman of their day. They're so silly and weird and fun, and they still hold up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, is there an aspect of Groucho's work that you think has kind of influenced you, your sense of humor, directly influenced your comedy, perhaps?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I guess like because I'm from a Jewish background, and I think I didn't pick up. Oh, like we didn't have a massively Jewish upbringing.
Mhm.
I didn't pick up that the Marx Brothers these are Jewish performers, but it was like knowing what Jewish comedy was before I knew even what they were, or what I was.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that comedy really appeals to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a cool thing. For every guest, I try to have I try to find at least one little interesting fact. Although you've read
Mm-hmm.
his biography and I've read a few online articles, so I think you're probably going to be like, "Yeah, I know." But for the listener, I thought this was very fun. That apparently Groucho Marx was directly involved in naming one of Elton John's albums. Did you know about
Oh,
this?
really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh, good!
Oh,
Yay!
I didn't know that. What album?
So, it was Elton John's 6th album called "Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player," and
Right,
apparently
right.
this came about because, Elton John and Groucho Marx were briefly neighbors, in LA, I
Oh, in
think.
the 70s.
Yeah, early in Elton John's
Right.
career. So, Groucho Marx used to call him John Elton, and he would hold out his middle and index fingers, kinda pretending to hold a gun, and Elton one
Right.
day retaliated by saying, "Don't shoot me, I'm only the piano player."
Oh, I really like
And
that.
that's how
That's
the
amazing.
album got its name, so yeah,
Oh,
fun little
Groucho
thing.
was he was really quite cool. Like, I believe because obviously Queen, I'm a huge Queen fan. That's going to come up.
Yeah.
Queen named two of their albums after Marx Brothers films. A Day at the Races and then A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races are Marx
Oh,
Brothers
I didn't know
films, and
that.
Queen named their albums after them. And Groucho was apparently like, "That is delightful."
That's
He loved
that's
it.
a fantastic response. Well,
Yeah.
you've mentioned that Groucho was quite a liberal guy politically and quite
Mm. Mm-hmm.
progressive. And that perhaps
Yeah.
brings us neatly onto your second guest. You're
Sure.
inviting one of the most progressive and liberal politicians in the UK, Diane
Hmm.
Abbott.
Yeah, Auntie Diane. She's coming round.
She is
Diane.
she's fascinating, Diane. She's an absolutely
She's
amazing
amazing. What an
woman.
incredible story, and what a iron backbone she must have to put up with everything that it increasingly we find out she has to deal with
Yeah, it's absolutely mad.
in
What was it
33
recently?
years
Like,
of.
I think it was during the 2017 election campaign.
Mhm.
She received more than half of all the
Yeah.
abusive message sent to every female MP.
Yeah.
She received more than 50%. I think now it
It's
stands at something like
unbelievable.
26% or something.
Right.
It's
Oh, it's just a quarter
insane. Yeah,
now.
just
That's
a
good.
quarter. Yeah, she's really
Oh,
like
good. I'm there.
she's just not taking it seriously anymore. But
Yeah.
it's mad. I mean, it's obviously so fueled by misogyny and racism, and as you
Yes.
say,
Yeah.
the perseverance that this woman has not only to put up with
Mm.
that kind of abuse, but to also do her job. I mean, just
Yeah.
what a difficult
Her
job.
constituents love her.
Yeah,
Like, she is a very popular constituency MP, and like whenever I see her interviewed, I'm like, oh, it's Diane Abbott. She's awesome. What's your fucking problem, everybody?
yeah, yeah. When did you kind of first become a Diane Abbott admirer?
An Abbott head. Uh, well, it would, to my shame, probably around 2015 when Corbyn was running for leadership,
Sure, yeah,
because
yeah.
I knew who Corbyn was, and but all I knew was he is that Labour MP who was anti anti-Iraq war.
Yeah.
So I knew as much about him as I knew about Diane Abbott, and I then did my research because I was like, who am I going to vote for in the leadership election?
Mhm.
And then I learnt about Diane Abbott and how she wasn't just that lady called Diane Abbott who's an MP who I sort of know she
Yeah, yeah.
exists. You learn, you go, and then you can find on YouTube incredible speeches she's made in Parliament on such a variety of topics, and you go, I think this woman has achieved quite a lot, and maybe some of you should fuck off.
Yeah, damn right.
Fuck
I
off.
mean, just for people listening, Diane Abbott, she was voted the first black female MP in the UK
Hmm.
in 1987. So she has been an MP like my whole life. I was born in 87. So she's been an MP
Mm.
my whole life and like for the vast
Right.
majority of yours.
Yes.
She's such a trailblazer. And as you said, her speeches, she won the Spectator Award for Parliamentary Speech of the Year in
Mm?
2008, and also got further recognition in the 2008 Human Rights Awards. I mean, it's so easy. It's too easy for people to constantly cite the one interview where she wasn't well and kind of mixed up the
Yeah,
numbers on police
absolutely.
numbers.
Yeah.
And she's kind of made this joke as a result of that. But it
Yeah.
does her and her career such a disservice.
It really does, and I find myself exhausted by um, fact checking people who want to bring her down, and I'd be a fool to complain about that because I'm not having to live with it. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I can stop going. Actually, let me tell you a few things. I can stop doing that, and it doesn't affect me at all. But she can't get away
Yeah.
from the endless abuse she gets, and she seems to have a great sense of humor. She was caught drinking a mojito from a tin on a
That's
train,
right, yeah.
and it became the biggest story in the UK for 2 days because God forbid this woman buy herself a cocktail in a tin. And that's when I started calling her Auntie Diane. So like, let Auntie Diane have her tinny. You don't actually care about it. And on the year anniversary, there was like on Twitter, drink a tin for Diane, people taking pictures of themselves drinking tin
Brilliant.
mojitos. And I was happy to join in. And then she posted one. She was like, "Wait." Like, yeah, Diane Abbott's joining in.
That's fantastic. That's really fun. So you've got her
I
at the
think she'd
dinner
be a
party
laugh.
and you think she'd be a laugh.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do. I think she'd be a laugh.
that's great. What is there one kind of particular thing you want to chat to her about? I mean, not necessarily from her career, but do you think there's maybe a shared interest that you guys have in something that you'd like to pick her brain about?
Well, here's what my favourite things in the world are: gossip that doesn't involve me at all. That's my favorite. That and like socialist progressive politics, obviously. But my other favourite thing in the world is gossip that doesn't involve me one bit. So I really like the idea of going to Diane after a couple of mojitos. We'll be drinking them. So, Diane, who's the biggest prick in Parliament? And then I bet she'd go, oh, well, I shouldn't. And then just let forth with, you know,
Boris Johnson.
a thousand terrible, yeah, it's Boris Johnson, some terrible tales of politicians. She must have a bunch.
That would be a lot of fun. A slightly tipsy Diane Abbott
Mm,
telling us things we're not supposed to know about elected officials. Count me
yeah.
in.
Yeah, and I'd be like, "Don't worry, Diane, I won't tell anybody." And I wouldn't tell everybody, but I would tell some people.
Yeah.
People I could trust.
Or Tories, just to bring them down a peg, you know?
Yeah, I've got oh god. Oh, he's your favorite Tory MP. All right. Well, I can't tell you who I heard this from, but trust me, it's a reliable
I
source.
have it
And
on
they'll be
good
like, "Didn't you have
authority.
Diane Abbott round for a dinner party?" You never stop going on about it, Sue, so it must be her.
Well, Diane Abbott, that is an absolutely terrific second guess. Diane Abbott and Groucho Marx. It's
Together at
the dinner.
last.
Exactly. Where is the ITV special of Groucho and Diane?
Oh,
That's what we
I'm
need.
writing this play.
Well, there's no doubt Diane is a trailblazer, and you're not content apparently with having one trailblazer at your dinner because you got another one coming. Suze, you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier your cat's called Brian May, and your 2016 Edinburgh
Yes.
show was called Queen. So it's no
Yeah.
surprise that Freddie Mercury is coming to your dinner party.
That's right. My other cat is called Freddie
Oh,
Mercury.
no way!
I've got a Freddie Mercury and a Brian May.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
There and I'm gonna be in big trouble because Freddie Mercury is currently well on the 1st of August he turns 14 and he's in great shape, but I know how long cats live and I know that at some point Freddie Mercury the cat will be no more. And if I get another cat, I'm just gonna have to call it Freddie Mercury Part 2. So, you know,
I like it. I think keep him
but
living forever that way.
yeah. Who wants to live forever? I want you to live forever, Freddie. I'm looking at him right now.
Oh, bless. Have you got is it just the 2 cats?
Just the
I say
two.
just 2, like that isn't
Yeah.
a handful. I have 2 cats, Bert and Ernie, and they are
Oh, what they called?
exhausting.
Bert and
Bert
Ernie.
and Ernie, yeah, and they are exhausting little creatures. I love them, but my God.
Yeah.
I often find when you're chatting to, like, parents of newborn babies that they're kinda like, "Oh, life's so difficult, life's so hard, we get so little sleep," and it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah. Has your child ever woken you up by dropping a dead bird onto your head in
Oh,
bed?" You
yeah.
don't know
And you're
what
like,
difficult is until you own cats.
exactly. Wait till you own 2 cats. P.S. I can go out overnight and never have to worry about my cats. That's why they're better than a child.
Well, you're such a big, Queen of Freddie Mercury fan.
Yeah.
When did this obsession start?
Again, we grew up with some Queen tapes in the
Your dad
house.
wasn't also a
So
Freddie Mercury impersonator, was he?
no, no such luck. But we like Queen. I remember like Queen would be on events. If we had a big barbecue, there'd be Queen amongst the music being played. So I grew up with Queen, but we weren't like giant fans as a family. But when I turned 15, I got really into them. I think we borrowed Greatest Hits 1 off someone. We had Greatest Hits 2.
Oh, yeah.
We borrowed it off someone. For some reason, I just thought it was the best thing ever. I mean, not for some reason, they're great songs, but I just got so into it. And then I got paid, a meager wage from the local newsagent, which every 2 weeks you get paid. And I would go to the hour price in my town
Mhm.
and buy a Queen album and I was like building the collection from the start. I was pretty, um, like obsessive about buying them chronologically.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can remember being 15 and listening to the first album on a Discman, having just bought it on my headphones, and just sitting
Wow.
there going, "No, nobody knows how cool what I'm listening to is." Yeah, I just loved it. And the music you properly discover at 15 is always the best music you'll ever hear, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
So,
it helps as well that, it's Queen and it is just
mm.
phenomenally good music. Do you think Queen endures to this day solely on the basis of the kind of quality of the music? Or do you think there's something about Freddie's personality as well that's kind of part of the appeal?
Oh, I mean, each member of Queen brings something to the band. They were 4 like proper genuinely ace musicians,
Hmm.
with great creative ideas, and when they all came together, you got these like Queen is such an album band, which if you've only heard the greatest hits, you'd never believe some of the stuff that's on the albums. Um, and I love how experimental they were, particularly in the early days. With like they'd on their second album, which called Queen 2, they have such an eclectic range of everything from very, very heavy rock. There's a song called Father to Son, which is super heavy. There's a song which sounds like a Phil Spector wall of sound called Funny How Love Is. There's also like a very mournful piano based ballad called Nevermore. It's got
Mm.
everything on it. And there's some songs you can play to people and you go, "Who do you think this is?" And they'll go, "I have no idea." And you go, "That's Queen." You go,
Oh, wow.
"What? No way."
That's a
So
very cool quality in a band.
but I think Freddie is a complete unique force. You know, there's no one like him. He's influenced by many different artists, but there's no one like him before or since. Like,
Yeah.
you could say that someone like Eminem is like a facsimile of Elvis. Um, and Lady Gaga, who even takes her name from Queen, she's a incredible multi-talented performer, but she is essentially a facsimile of Freddie Mercury. So but there's no one like him. He's like Kate Bush in that way. There's one of him,
Hmm.
and they've influenced so
Yeah, he
many.
truly is one of a kind. Absolutely.
Mm.
So, what qualities do you think Freddie's bringing to the dinner table? I mean, you got Diane sharing some parliamentary stories, Groucho
Yes.
being just generally delightful and witty. What do
Yeah.
you think Freddie's bringing?
Um, a playful exuberance and a great sense of humor.
Excellent. Those are good qualities. Do you think
Yeah.
you might be angling? Might you be trying to convince Freddie to give you a little pre-dinner entertainment? Maybe a little duet?
Oh, do you know what? It'll be post-dinner entertainment.
Oh, of course.
"Oh God, look at oh God, what's this? They've got a piano. Abby's house has got a piano." It doesn't, but I'd get one
Oh,
delivered.
yeah, it's your dream dinner party. You do what you want.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll put one in the conservatory. I'll be go, "Oh, Freddie, look what we've got here." And hopefully he'd be interested in singing some fun duets
That
with all of us, and especially me.
especially you. I'm also trying to imagine what a Diane Abbott Freddie Mercury duet would look like. I know I'm
Oh,
buying it.
well, I mean, Barcelona, the album that he recorded with Montserrat Caballé, on paper, how's that work? A rock singer and an aging opera star? It can never work. And it's a great album. So maybe Barcelona 2 is Freddie and Diane. And everyone goes, "What? Oh, this is
I
great."
love it. I love it. Well, I mean, you've got Freddie Mercury, the cat, as well as
Yes.
Brian May. Did you know that
Mhm.
Freddie Mercury was also a big cat lover?
I did,
Oh,
and
good.
it's oh yeah, he loved his cats. In fact, this is quite eerie, but what is thought to be the last photo of him ever taken is him standing in the garden with his one of his cats,
Oh,
and it
wow.
looks exactly like my Freddie,
No
the cat.
way. Was that an
Yeah, and it's
intentional
supposed to
thing
be.
or on your part?
I hadn't seen this photo until about 10 years ago,
Oh,
and
wow.
Freddie Mercury the cat is now trying to bite me.
Oh, no.
This is
Freddie
very
Mercury is just
against the
being
grain.
shy, and he's like, "No, don't talk about me on the
No,
podcast.
stop
Talk about
it!
someone else."
I'll bite you. He's quite an angry guy.
This is the cat, not the human.
Yeah, yeah. My cat also has a playful exuberance which comes out in violence.
Well, other fun facts that I found out about Freddie Mercury, the human. I haven't done the requisite research on your cat, but next time we chat on a podcast, I'll have some Freddie Mercury cat facts.
Yeah, you'll go and learn some facts about.
But did you know that Freddie Mercury, the human, used to be a baggage handler at Heathrow Airport?
Oh, yes, it's touched on very briefly at the start of the Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie about him. Yeah, he
Ah,
was.
okay. Oh, I haven't seen the movie actually.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to. don't don't feel obliged. But no, they cover that at the beginning, and it's such a mundane, ordinary job,
Yeah,
isn't it? But yeah.
it's like trying to imagine kind of Eddie Izzard working in Tesco or something. You just think,
Yeah,
this is a
yeah.
mismatch of job and personality.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, it's quite well, he came from quite humble beginnings, and
Yeah.
for someone so sure of their vision of how they wanted to appear, and to be uh d- the act was very flamboyant, without being glam rock. Like, they
Mhm.
were a proper rock band, and his act was so theatrical and flamboyant and camp, and he was never afraid of that. And I think that's really inspirational, because it's not like he came from a place of extreme entitlement that meant he went, well, I can just do whatever I like because I'll always have money to
Yeah,
fall back
yeah.
on, which you do see sometimes, and he didn't have that at all.
He had to have real conviction and sense of self
That's
to do
it.
it, yeah.
You Yeah, and you can see why he and Elton John were such good friends, because Elton John has such a similar beginning to Freddie
Totally,
Mercury.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that sense of theatricality as well, you see it in
Yes.
both.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's very,
definitely.
very cool. Well, I did read, or I've kinda heard of a couple of people saying that Freddie was perhaps a little bit shy off stage,
Yes.
that his kind of
Yeah.
on-stage persona was so out there and flamboyant, but he was maybe a little
Mm.
bit of an introvert around people. But
Yeah.
if that can be said of Freddie Mercury, it definitely can't be said of your 4th guest. You are inviting someone who is almost literally larger than life. Who's your 4th guest, Suze?
Comedian, actor, and all-round funny legend, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. I mean,
Eddie Murphy.
he is a comedic legend, like, and
Mm.
everybody knows Eddie Murphy. I mean, not even necessarily from his stand-up or SNL days, but
Mm.
everyone has seen at least one Eddie Murphy movie. Even if they're not all
Yes.
great, we
Even if
all
it's
know
Meat
who he
Day.
is. Yeah. So tell us, what was your first kind of Eddie Murphy memory? Like, when did you become a fan?
I saw Eddie Murphy's Raw when I was, I think, about 20, and it
Mhm,
blew my mind because before then, like, one of my favorite films when I was a teenager was Coming to America, which I used I used to love Frasier. I still love Frasier, and I would tape it off the Paramount Comedy Channel, and then go to bed because it was on at 10, and then I'd have 2 episodes to watch in the morning. It was
mhm.
very much the original morning Channel 4 Frasier.
Yeah.
So, um I used to do that, but there'd always then be the 11 o'clock film, so I'd often have a cool comedy film to watch, and Coming to America was my favourite of all the accidental taped films I had, and, oh god, I loved it so much. It's still one of my, like, top 10 films. I love Coming to America. So, I loved that. I can remember loving, as well, The Nutty Professor, which does not bear a revisit particularly at this point, but I loved it. But I just thought, I always found Eddie Murphy such a wonderful, uh, like, electric presence in whatever
Yeah.
film he was in, even if the film wasn't up to much. And I'm so happy that now he's been able to make a comeback, because he seems like a good guy, and I can't not touch on the fact that he's been really criticised for, particularly in his first stand special, Delirious, which doesn't hold up as well as Raw.
Mhm,
It's got some quite gross homophobia in it, which he genuinely apologized for in the 90s, uh,
mhm.
way before Twitter and
Yeah,
way
before
before social
cancel
media
culture
would
came
go.
along, yeah.
I guess, yeah, which, and I have my own feelings on cancel culture, whether it's as big a problem as people say, because
Sure.
sometimes cancel culture seems to be, you said something racist and people are going, don't say that, and they're like, oh, cancel culture. But I feel like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Eddie Murphy, it felt like a genuine apology,
Mhm.
and I think he and Freddie Mercury and Groucho and Diane would really hit it off.
Oh, wow, yeah, it's such a mix of people that I think it's safe to say you're the only person in the world ever who's probably said, "We should get these guys together."
Oh,
But I
what
definitely see that it would be
what
an
a dream.
entertaining night.
A dream quartet.
I mean, you've touched on a
Yeah.
couple of the maybe some of the problematic elements of
Yes.
his stand-up, but I've never seen any of his stand I've never seen
Mhm.
Raw, and it is this kind of legendary performance.
Raw is just
So
fantastic.
what am I
Oh
missing out
god.
on? I mean, what's the tone of his stand-up? How did it make you feel when you first saw it?
So I think it really influenced me without me realizing, because he will talk about um running into Bill Cosby and Michael Jackson. He's also a great impressionist. This
Yeah.
is this is how old Raw is. His impression of Michael Jackson is like, "Oh, that guy's so weedy." Like, "Oh, that's the worst thing you can think about him, is it?" He'll talk about like huge celebrity events he's attended, and make it feel relatable. And then the end of his show is, I think it's about 20 minutes, just talking about what his home life was like growing up. And just talking about his mum going, "Oh, yeah, yeah, we're not getting McDonald's. It's expensive. I'll make you McDonald's at home," and him being really disappointed with it, and his dad being drunk and singing on a Friday night and getting all the words wrong on Motown songs. It's such mundane stuff that we can all go, "Oh yeah, I totally."
Yeah.
You almost feel like I grew up in that house too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he makes it so funny, and it's not even I couldn't tell you like discernible jokes. It goes back to "You're a comedian, are you? Tell us a
Sure,
joke."
sure,
I
sure.
don't think Eddie Murphy could have done. He'd have to go, "Well, I have to tell you about my dad for 20 minutes." and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like I am always aiming to create that when I talk about my life. Whether I succeed or not is another story, but I always want to make it so it feels like we're having a conversation and you're going, I think that too."
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's so interesting. I watched a little clip of him sort of SNL recently had some kind of
Mm,
big anniversary or whatever, and they sat a few of their sort of old performers down and asked them about the show and stuff.
hmm.
And I mean, he started writing and performing stand up at the age of 15,
Yeah.
and he joined
Yeah, it's crazy.
SNL. Like he joined Saturday Night Live at the age of 19.
It's amazing.
It's mad. And
I
he
could barely tie my shoes at 19.
I know, yeah, same. I'm so useless in comparison to all your brilliant guests. But he had this great story about how one time, like in his first season at SNL, and like he's on TV and everything, he's
Mm.
making it, and he came out and he went to his car and his hubcaps are stolen. He was like, "But I was just
Yes.
me, so I just went to another car and stole their hubcaps."
Yes.
So like, there's an SNL performer on the street stealing
Yeah.
hubcaps for his
It's
car.
brilliant. Yeah.
He
Yeah, you
definitely has, like you said, that kind of sense of, yeah, he may be successful and he may be an
yeah.
A-lister and everything, but
Mm.
so relatable.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm not sure it's something you can fake, but the fact is he had all that fame and adulation at 19, and like he took a quite long break from making films, and
Mhm.
a lot of the later films in his career have been fucking garbage. It's like he's half-assed it, and yet he hasn't. There doesn't seem to be an ounce of bitterness or
Mhm.
forgetting where he came from. And
Yeah.
so it's what's been really lovely in the last year or so is watching him sort of come back into public eye a bit. And he made that Dolomite Is My Name, which is one of my favorite films of last year. I thought it was
Oh, yeah.
it's just great, and he was fantastic in it. And
It's one of the
I
films
d
on my to watch list. It's kind of quite
oh
an
yeah,
extensive list.
it will make you feel so good.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that
Great.
might have to
And
be
he
our
there's
film tonight then.
Oh yeah, I recommend. Yeah, and there's like talk of him coming back now and doing stand up again, but he's not just
Yeah.
going straight into it and going, well, like, because Eddie Murphy announces a stand up show, it's going to sell out. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to work hard on it, but it sounds like he's going to really
Yes, I saw a little clip
work
of
his ass
him,
off getting it
chatting
right.
to Jerry Seinfeld about
Yeah.
it and saying, like, "If I'm doing it, I have to go back to the clubs. I have to start writing material,
Mm.
performing in front of audiences again." And that yeah,
It
that shows a respect for his audience that perhaps
does.
some of his Hollywood output hasn't necessarily had,
Yeah.
but that's
I
okay.
wonder if like a lot of these scripts arrive and he's just got terrible taste. He goes, "Well, it reads funny and I get to be a funny
Oh, yeah,
alien,"
I
or
really
something, and
hope
then you
he's not
go,
sat there thinking, "This is the film. This is the one that brings me back."
Yeah, yeah, I wonder because I think what who was I talking to? Oh, so on Saturday nights I've got friends in Chicago and San Francisco, and we Zoom meet on a Saturday night, which is afternoon for them, but they
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind because they don't mind because they say that, oh well, Suze, this is my friend Trevor, Jane, and Aaron. Shout out to Trevor, Jane, and Aaron. They said, Suze, it doesn't matter because if we did this in the evening, you'd have to get up at like 3 a.m. to come
Yeah.
watch films with us. So we'll like watch a terrible movie every weekend, and we're discussing what we're going to watch this weekend. And we were looking at like this terrible Halle Berry film from about 2 years ago. And you look at some of her output in recent years, and you go, oh, I wonder if she's got that De Niro thing where she goes, well, looks like it might be pretty good, and then they end up making like Dirty Grandpa. I wonder if there's a bit of that with Eddie Murphy.
I wonder, yeah, or just some really terrible advice being given to him because whatever it is,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it hasn't been working out for Eddie and the Hollywood department.
No,
But
no, it
Dolomite is
hasn't.
my name. Maybe
Ah,
that's the turning point.
so
But
great.
then
I
you
hope
wonder
he's
if it's
back.
just the same thing that Adam Sandler has, like a phenomenally
Yeah.
talented man who seems
Yes.
only capable of making one good movie every 8 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like I think with him maybe Adam Sandler really he likes his friends very much, and he's got the opportunity to make big budget awful films with them, but he has a great time with them for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that. But then I saw his stand-up special, oh, which was so great. I loved it.
Oh, wow.
Um it's on Netflix. It's again last year. Oh, it is a joy. I recommend that as well.
Oh, excellent.
It's called 100% Fresh, so it's making fun of all his Rotten Tomatoes ratings. But
Okay.
he sings a song in it about his wife, and it's a song about how much he loves his wife. But he says, "Oh, one of the lines in it is like, oh, you tell me not to worry about all those arseholes on Rotten Tomatoes." So he obviously is bothered by the reviews. It's yeah,
Yeah. But if he's having fun, then what's the harm? If I could be paid
yeah.
tens of millions of pounds
Oh my
to
god,
mess
yeah.
about with my mates, I would do it too.
It softens the blow.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, Suze, you've
Yeah.
got one more place set at
Yes.
your dinner table, and you've done such a terrific job of choosing so many different kinds of guests. And this is very much a guest in a different vein to everyone else. Your final guest
Yeah.
is Princess Anne.
Whoop whoop, big old Princess Anne. I'm anti-monarchy. What a ridiculous concept. But oh, Princess Anne, we have no choice but to stan. She's a fucking legend. Princess Anne seems like the most fun royal. Maybe Prince Harry, but for me, Princess Anne, because I've been brought up around horses. My mum's a dressage rider. Um,
Right, right,
but
right.
not brought up around money. Hence, we have all these rich
Mhm.
friends like Abby with lovely houses, and because
I
they got horses. So
see. Yeah.
my mum becomes friends with them, and my mum sort of works out which ones are left wing and becomes proper mates with them. Um, but yeah, Princess Anne is an Olympic medalist. She rode on the eventing team at the 1976 Montreal Olympics.
Mhm.
Montreal? Yeah, Montreal. And so she had a really nasty fall, and anything to do with horses is very expensive, and eventing no different. So she obviously had the money, but you still have to be able to ride these crazy courses where you're jumping huge obstacles that are over 5 feet tall. And she had a terrible fall off her horse, which is called Goodwill, which was a bit of a nutter. It was the queen's horse, and it was bonkers. And she fell, and she had terrible concussion. And they went, you can't get back on the horse, and she had to finish the course to keep Great Britain in the medals. And she was like, yeah, fuck it. She got back on, she finished the course, and she says she doesn't remember that day of competition at
Oh
all
my
because
god.
she was just like out of her brain. So like I couldn't have done it. There's absolutely no way I could have done it. And I've been brought up horse. You could get me the best horse in the world that wasn't a nutter. There's no way I'm going around that cross country course. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, Anne's a hard bastard, and I think she'd be, and I reckon she always gets the beers in as well. So she'd show up with like a load of cans in a bag and go, whoa.
I
She'd
like
go,
that.
slap these in the fridge, Kempner. And I'd go, wait.
Well, you're not wrong about her being a hard bastard as well, because I have to admit, when I saw this choice, I was like, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I have to sit and
She's
read about the royal family. I'm an
of course.
Irish nationalist
I
Republican."
should have thought this,
And
yeah.
yeah, so I was just like, "Ugh, royal family." And then I sort of thought, obviously, I have to do a little bit of reading, show some respect to Suze. I'm gonna have an
That's
informed
it.
conversation. I'm glancing through her Wikipedia page, and it's like, early life, yeah, boarding school,
Yeah,
first
very, very
marriage,
royal.
kidnapping attempt.
Yeah, boy!
And it is very difficult to read her Wikipedia page in chronological order once you've seen the words kidnapping attempt.
Yes,
This
yeah.
is nuts. Like, it's absolutely, do you know the story of it?
I do know this story a bit, but, I can't remember details. I know that she basically was like, "Not bloody likely," when they were like,
Yeah,
"Get in
that
my
was the
car."
words. A dude, so basically, like, a car forced the car she was in to have to pull over to the side of the road. Guy with
Mhm.
a gun, like, shoots her, private police officer,
Yeah,
shoots her
yeah. So they
driver.
it's for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he approaches the
Terrifying.
car. I mean, his motivation, I'm not gonna say I sympathize with, but he had this idea that
No,
he was
no.
gonna keep her hold her ransom for 2 to 3 million
Mm,
pounds, and he was going to
mhm.
give the money to the NHS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like,
But, like,
his
have a bake
motives were
sale,
good.
mate.
His Yes.
Like,
His
there are better
we can't
things.
we cannot, criticize his motives. However, the way he then acted on them, don't do that.
It's less than ideal, shall we say.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
as you said, when he approached the car and told her to get out, her exact
Mm,
words were, "Not bloody likely." Which,
yeah.
it's just like,
Go for it,
she
Anne.
is badass.
That's
I have
right.
a lot of
Yeah. I
respect
mean,
for her.
it must have been terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely mad. But what a story that would be at the dinner party table. I mean, you got Eddie Murphy telling all his stand-up stories, trying out a little bit of new material and new
Mm.
guys, and Princess Anne can just drop in the, "Oh, yeah, the time that I told the kidnapper I wasn't going with him." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, 'cause I really like The Crown. You know, I'm one
Oh,
of those people
yeah.
who's like, "The royal family, fuck the royal family," and then I watched The Crown, I was like, "God bless our queen." But I think the next series is probably gonna have that in it.
Oh,
The
great.
whole
Oh, I'm gonna
Anne
have to
kidnapping.
watch that scene. My wife
Yeah,
watches it, and I refuse to watch
right?
it because every time I come downstairs and she's watching it, it just seems to be another clip of the Queen saying, "The hardest thing for one to do is to do nothing," and it's like, "No, mate, that's fucking easy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
how
literally the
dare you?"
easiest.
But yeah, my wife loves it, but when it gets to that scene, I'm gonna have to get her to call me downstairs because I wanna see the dramatized version of that.
That's
Um
right.
my little I mean,
Yeah.
as if the kidnapping story wasn't the interesting fact about Princess Anne, another thing was that her first boyfriend was
Mm,
Andrew Parker Bowles,
yeah,
who later went on to marry Camilla, which
that's it.
means that Charles, his wife, and his sister have both slept with the same
Yeah,
guy.
they were stripping that guy.
That's so
Um
on brand for the royals.
It is, isn't it? It's perfect. It's almost like that's what Prince Charles was into. I really like it though, because it's like, I bet you he would have married Princess Anne. Of course he would. So you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that he went, maybe he was getting too into it and she went, "Oh god, so clingy." She went off down the stables.
Have you ever had the pleasure of being anywhere kind of near Princess Anne? Like any equestrian events or anything? Have you seen her?
Uh, I think I was at we have our local showground is the South of England showground. Um, and we were there one day when I was a kid and Princess Anne was there, but I mean, God, my family didn't care about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I can remember mum being like, "Ask Princess Anne." Also, once at the South of England, the Queen was there, and I was 17 at the time, and a like like in my I am an anarchist, so I was kind of like the Queen's here, and everyone was having to sort of paths at the show would get closed off for minutes at a time for the Queen to go through, and I was 17 thinking bullshit. And there was a horse shit in the middle of one of the paths, and I put a Union Jack on a stick that I found. I put it in there. I was like, "Hey, that's for the Queen. That's for the Queen." And you can imagine like everyone looking around, going, "That awful teenager is." Even if you didn't like the royals, you'd see me doing that and just think, "Oh, shut up." I was so chuffed with myself.
That is amazing. That I think that is where the cross section of our childhoods might come together. I think there are people in my community who would have done that as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm so not like, as people, I have very few feelings on the majority of the royals, but as a concept, like the monarchy, give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
She's got a gold piano in her house that
gross.
she rescued from. I'm talking about the Queen now, in her house, Buckingham Palace. It's
Mhm.
our house, actually. But she nicked it from Saddam Hussein's palace, and you go, it doesn't make it better that it's there. Fucking
Oh.
sell it to a eccentric billionaire and pay for some social housing.
Yeah, or use one of the 700 bedrooms to allow
Yeah,
homeless
right?
people to sleep in during the winter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have very many of the same feelings, and I know it's not simple as that. And obviously, the enemy here is not some people who are born into a monarchy. The enemy is the government who allow the
Yes.
position our country's in to happen. However, oh, the Queen, no, because in her position as the crown, she can't say anything. It's like, well, do you know what? If she did, it's not going to make the country implode. So, what's your
Yeah.
stance on Brexit, Mom?
I should probably clarify at this point that my views and Suze's views are not necessarily the views of Jericho comedy. You are welcome
Oh
to come
yeah,
along to our nights if you like the royal family or not. But if I'm
yeah.
hosting, I'm going to give you a hard time about it.
Also, like if you're a big pro royalist and you want to say something about Princess Anne to me, I love a chat.
Well, there we go. Suze's DMs are open for some Princess Anne chat.
Princess Anne stan
Well,
chat.
Suze, you've put together such brilliant guests. I mean,
All right.
Groucho Marx, Diane Abbott, Freddie Mercury, Eddie Murphy, Princess Anne. It's gonna be a nuts evening. It's gonna be
Yeah,
at this beautiful house set in a lovely conservatory. But
that's it.
what are you cooking up for your guests? What's on the menu?
Okay, so for starter, my signature dish, which is my like it's hard to be humble about the greatest food ever made because my chicken liver pate is, oh, chef's kiss, and I'm the chef, and I'm kissing it. A great, it's a great dish to serve as a starter, but I would advise everyone, don't fill up on it, even though you will be tempted.
That is
You'll be
it's
tempted.
chicken liver pate.
Mhm.
That's not something you see in your kinda Jamie Ministry of Food books or anything. Where did you learn to make chicken liver pate?
That is my mum's recipe. She's always
Ah.
blitzing it up. My mum cooks, like, 4 things really well, and then the rest of the time like, lockdown has basically been her going, "Oh god," about 3 p.m., "Oh god, what are we gonna have for dinner?" And me going, "Kebab," and she goes, "Kebab." Yeah, so chicken liver pate, it's her recipe, but I've done my own version of it. I like to use masala wine
Oh.
as the alcohol rather than brandy.
Oh my word.
Masala wine, you got your chicken livers, shove them in, fry them up in butter, your heart attacks, fry them up, add your masala wine, add red onions chopped, and then double cream eventually, and then you just blend it with a hand blender. But you can also put in there little cubes of bacon, lardons of
Oh,
bacon.
yes.
You can put mushrooms in there. If you've got like some old boiled, oh, not that old, but if you've had boiled potatoes the night before and there's 3 left, put them in as well.
Oh,
Blitz it up. It's a good way to get rid of some leftovers.
I was
Anything
already
goes.
into this, and then you mentioned potatoes, and I hate to be an Irish stereotype, but I'm in.
I said, if you've got some old boiled potatoes, and you went, oh yeah, old boiled potatoes. So yeah, I think it's like. I think it's a good way to you can use just about whatever's in your fridge, so long as you've got the
Yeah.
masala wine, the chicken livers, the onions, and the cream.
You're setting a
Splits it up.
high bar for the standards here. I mean, that is a hell of
Yeah,
a starter. So what's for main course?
just lasagna.
Yes.
It's
It's
lasagna.
so difficult to beat lasagna.
That's it. When I go to a restaurant and like it's rare that this happens, but if I go to a really nice restaurant, I go, it's someone's birthday and they got more money than you, and you go, oh God, all right, well, I guess I'm spending £30 here. But like I can order the nicest thing on the menu and eat it and still think, yeah, it was great. But you know what I'd really like? Slabs of mince between pasta sheets with a load of cheese and bechamel on the top, please.
I am
Lasagna's the
so with
best.
you there. What sounds nice about this menu as well is like these are two things that you can kind of have made in advance. So you get to spend a
Ah,
bit of time with your
see?
guests.
That's it. I can pre-make the lasagna and then I can just put it under the grill to get it warmed up.
Yeah.
Heat it up in the oven for like 20
I
minutes.
thought this was an intentional decision, but it sounds like it's just a happy coincidence.
Yeah, I don't I think maybe I accidentally did that. But yeah, I don't like it when the person running the party is making a huge deal about all the cooking they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
And they go, "Sorry, I run off my feet," and they're all sweaty, and you go, "Can I help you with anything?" And they go, "No, no, no."
yeah.
But what they mean is, "I need a lot of help,
Yeah, what they
actually."
mean is I like to suffer very publicly so that you guys all
Yeah,
admire me for how hard I'm
that's
working.
it.
And then you've got one course left. What's Princess Anne having for dessert?
Oh, I go, "Excuse me, guys, just let me go and get" I call it pudding. I go, "Sorry, guys, just go and get pudding. Come back from the fridge with 6 Rolo yogurts."
Yes!
Woo! Have you ever been in a restaurant and had a dessert? I'm sure you have. Was it nicer than a Rolo yogurt? I doubt it.
They are Moorish to say the least. I think that is a blinding choice for a dessert. You could make a cheesecake or something, but a Rolo yogurt is just such a simple pleasure.
And it's so small because we've had a lot of I've told everyone, "Hold back on the chicken liver pate, guys, because you get full on it." I know it's nice, but they've been whacking that on sourdough and they're full. And then they went, "Well, it's lasagna, so I'm gonna eat the whole plate." They're full. They don't want great big heavy pr I don't know what puddings are. Well, yeah, cheesecake or so I don't know what puddings are. They don't want something giant and exciting that they then feel under pressure to eat. Just a little roll of yogurt.
Just a little treat at the end. Just a little something while Freddy's kind of tickling the ivories in the corner and
It.
Suze, that sounds like a kick-ass dinner party. That
Thank you.
really
Would you
does
like to
sound
come
dreamy.
too?
I would love even if I can just help, like, washing the dishes afterwards or something, it would be a privilege. I can sit in the kitchen with your mum and her friend just, listening in on the conversation.
Oh, okay. I mean, Mum and Abby will also be drinking and probably, eating lasagna as well, so join them.
Fantastic. That is brilliant. Suze, thanks so much for telling us all about your dream dinner party. If we wanna follow you on Twitter or Instagram or check out your podcast, how do we do that?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at SoozUK, SOOZUK. I particularly like people who agree with me. Um, That's my favourite. If you'd like to listen to our podcast, it's Mystery on the Rocks on all the things. And my Twitch, I Twitch stream. Sometimes I'm singing, sometimes I'm playing video games, sometimes I'm making a Guinness cake. That happened.
Ooh,
It's just Sooz Kempner, all one word on Twitch, twitch.tv/Sooz Kempner. And
brilliant. Well, we'll
yeah,
add all those links to the episode description as well. So check
thank
out
you.
Suze's work. Suze, thank you so, so much for that. That was a lot of fun, and we'll chat again
Cheers,
soon.
thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there we go. That was the dream dinner party of the amazing Sooz Kempner. I had such a great time chatting to Suze, and I'm about 95% sure now that I'm going to have to go out and get some Rolo yogurts, or I'm just going to be sat here thinking about them for the rest of the day. Have a look at the episode description to find links to Suze's Twitter and Twitch pages and the fantastic Mystery on the Rocks podcast. If you like the podcast, please like, subscribe, rate, share, all that stuff. You can follow us on Twitter at dinnerparty_pod. This podcast is a Jericho comedy production, and you can find us on Twitter at Comedy Jericho and at www.jerichocomedy.com. I mentioned to my new website earlier, so if you want to learn more about my work, you can visit www.conormcreynolds.com. I'll be back with another episode of The Dinner Party next week, but until then, thanks for listening and bye-bye.